These little yellow clips just move out of the way. This fuse is going to sit right there. I've done this a few times in the past and it's actually very easy to do. I'm just using a razor blade here for the rubber jacket. There you go. I'm going to focus the heat on the end of the lug here, and that will fit right on there. Tighten that sucker down nice and tight, and you can see what this side looks like. Well, all right, looking down here, we can see everything is mounted up, everything is connected.
You might remember a while back, I installed this Mechman 250 amp Elite Alternator, and the install was fairly simple. That being said, it's been years now, and I've had zero issues with this alternator. Matter of fact, I've been super happy with it. The voltmeter in my truck is always right around that 14 volt range, which is where it should be. Now, there is one thing that I kind of stupidly haven't done yet. If you take a look at the back of the alternator here, you can see this main charge wire. This wire basically runs all the way over to the positive post on the battery. You may have already noticed, but in this path should be a fuse. There is not. It's just straight wired from the alternator right on over to that battery. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to give you some kind of clever reason as to why I haven't done that yet. No, that would just be me trying to not look stupid. So today, in the name of safety, that's what we're going to do. We're going to put a fuse in line between the alternator and the battery. And I have something pretty special for that. A safety fuse block by Blue Sea Systems. I also got a couple of their 300 amp AMG or Mega fuses. Now, some of you guys already know Blue Sea Systems. Some of you might not have heard of them. They're available on Amazon. That's where I bought them, and they're relatively affordable, and I will put a link down in the description below this video if you're curious. Blue Sea Systems, as the name implies, are products that are meant for boating, for boats. So these are sealed, these are made really, really well to deal with corrosion. And not only does this just visually look like a really nicely built product, if I look on the back here, it says designed in Bellingham, Washington, USA, and assembled in Mexico. So overall, my first impression just looking at this thing, it looks like a top-notch product. And that's further reinforced when you go to the Amazon reviews. I mean, everybody has good things to say about these. All right, I'm gonna open this thing up and check it out. Awesome. Wow. Okay, cool. It's nice and heavy, very, very solid feeling. Just feeling this thing, you can tell it is made of high quality plastics. Then you have this clear cover here, which is sealed with a gasket. These little yellow clips just move out of the way. You would put the cover on and clip the clips on, and then this thing is sealed. I mean, not only does it look good, you can just feel and tell it is built with high quality materials. Okay, so let's pop one of these fuses open. Nice. Looks like a high quality fuse. I don't really know what a low quality fuse looks like, but it looks nice. So this fuse is gonna sit right there, of course underneath the nuts there, but it'll be locked down, and this will be my protection system right here. Well, hey, real quick, here's your reminder that I am not a professional technician. Do not do what I do or say. Do your own due diligence, come to your own conclusions. Thanks. All right, unfortunately, there's no real easy place for me in this truck to install this, except for right up here on this wheel well. That might be an option for me. All right, for now, I will go ahead and just disconnect the negative side of the battery. And then I guess I can also disconnect the positive side. So you can see here, by using some properly sized copper tubing and my vise here, I'm gonna create my own lug just like this one that I bought. I've done this a few times in the past and it's actually very easy to do. I've been in here doing some figuring, trying to figure out the best location to mount this and also where to get my wires to the positive side and then back over to the alternator. I'm thinking right here on this passenger side wheel well is a good spot. I can remake the main cable that goes from the alternator to here. This is that cable and it's unfortunately not long enough in this position. So I can remake that cable and then I can reuse this cable that was the main charge cable. And thankfully this lug here on this side fits perfectly snugly over this post. And I've already made my mark here for the length needed. So once I take care of the cable from this to the battery, I'll then know precisely how long long to make my new cable over to the alternator. All right, I have the correct side and length of cable cut here. I just used my lineman's pliers and that worked pretty well. I've also pre-marked where I'm going to cut the rubber jacket off so that I can slide the end of the welding cable in here and then be able to crimp it down. I'm just using a razor blade here for the rubber jacket. I'm not pressing too hard because I'm not trying to cut the copper that's underneath. Once you, there you go. That rubber jacket should come right off, and thankfully it doesn't look like I've cut any of the copper underneath. And you can see just how far that's going to go in. I could do a little bit more if I wanted, but I think that's going to be just enough. Okay, in order to crimp this copper lug that I've created onto our new wire, I have what's called a hammer crimper, and that's exactly what it is. It's a crimper that you use a big hammer with, and I already have this thing orientated in the right position. I've taped it off so that it's not going to move. I'm going to go ahead and start with the crimping. Although I can tell this is an absolutely solid connection, I'm going to go ahead and throw some solder in this joint just to be 100%. I'm going to focus the heat on the end of the lug here. I'm going to try not to burn the copper. Once this is hot enough, I'll be able to reach in the top here with my solder and let it flow right in. And that is done and hot. Okay, the fuse block is just kind of set into place there. I have this new cable kind of loosely just sitting here from the battery to the end of the fuse block there. And now I can make my new main cable from the alternator and routing all the way across to this end of the fuse block. Here we go. Yeah, there it is. There's our length right there. So I think this end is done, regardless of which side I want to be up. This is going to be perfect. That'll fit right in there just like that. I don't even need to trim off any of the plastic here that they make so you can break away these panels, but that's going to be perfect. The nut will fit right on there. Tighten that sucker down nice and tight. And you can see what this side looks like. I just kind of took a file to it to round the corners off. This is the crimped side. You know, it doesn't look great, but it is going to function really, really well for me. So I'm happy with this. All right, I'm about to mount this thing down here on the wheel well. You can see I have some double-sided tape on the bottom of it, and that was my first thought, was using some really good quality double-sided tape rather than having to drill through the wheel well. So hopefully this works out long term. All right, we have pretty good positioning right there. I did stick it down so it is stuck, and that tape is strong. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and shave a little bit off this plastic piece right here, and that's just to help that lug fit under here snugly without having to break this entire piece off. And that worked out really well. That's perfect. Well, all right, looking down here, we can see everything is mounted up. Everything is connected. I have all 4 of these nuts tight. The battery's completely hooked up. The connection to the wheel well is nice and tight, very tight actually. And I'll go ahead and throw on the cover, and then I'll clip the little clips. And so now we have this main charge cable that was coming off the back of the alternator, and before it ran all the way to the battery with no fuse whatsoever. Now you can see the charge cable comes through here, runs to the first post on this fuse block. Then we have our 300 amp fuse, which then goes to this last post, which then connects right up to the battery. All right, we're gonna start the truck and make sure everything is good. All right, well, the job is now done, and it wasn't that difficult. There was kind of a lot of steps to go through, but that's only because I made my own end lugs. You can buy those end lugs already made, of course, and that would obviously also depend on the size of the wire you're using. The wire I'm choosing to use on my truck is this #2 welding wire. I felt like this was plenty thick for everything I needed it for. So if I didn't have any problems or issues before, why did I do this? Well, basically, it's just in case there was some kind of accident. Whether it's a physical accident where I wreck my truck, or let's say, maybe even more commonly, the rubber jacket on the outside of that wire being chafed all the way through, and that wire, the positive wire, coming into contact with something inside the engine compartment that is grounded, well, that could spell big trouble, and that's also why a fuse would come in handy. I do want to reiterate here that I am not a professional technician. I'm just a do-it-yourselfer in my garage, fixing and modifying my truck and showing you along the way what I do. So don't take my advice. Do not do what I do. Do your own research, your own due diligence, and come to your own conclusions. That being said, this isn't the only or even the best way to do something like this. This is just the way that I know how, and in the future, I may modify that. I don't know. But for right now, with what I know and what I'm capable of doing, this is good enough for me. So I do hope you enjoyed this video. I had fun filming it. I am one of those weirdos who really does enjoy working on my truck. I love making things better. I love replacing old, worn out parts with brand new factory parts. I love these old vehicles. This 95 GMC Suburban is just so cool to me. So I'm gonna try to keep this thing on the road for as long as I can and have some fun with it. Anyhow, if you did enjoy it, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And if you've watched this far and you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing. I'm Jimmy for One Road, and I will see you in the next one.